Hi there, welcome. In this video, I will be responding to the question, what does a leader do, or what is my recommendation to leaders whenever there is a breakdown in the interpersonal relationship or the communication between that leader and his or her team or a particular team member? Great question. Now, whenever we are communicating well, whenever we're working together well, whenever the interpersonal interplay is going well, there are a few things that happens. It happens seamlessly. One is productivity. The other is employee engagement. This is where, on their own initiative, employees are willing to go the extra mile to make sure that you win and the company wins. So productivity, employee engagement. There is also the overall motivation to be a part of the team, to contribute, to innovate, to be creative. There's also the issue of feeling valued, right? And all that goes back to being an engaged employee that is also highly productive. So if there's a breakdown, you really want to address it as quickly as possible. That's the first advice. Ensure that you address the issues as quickly as possible. It requires you to make a choice as the leader and a decision. You're going to step up and begin listening. See, listening is a huge part of communication. It's not just what we say, but when the person speaks to you, are you hearing? Are you understanding? Have you heard enough? Were you willing to listen long enough so that you could hear enough so that you could respond appropriately? That's the importance of communication, and it also impacts your interpersonal interplay, because in order for you to be an effective collaborator, for someone to have good interpersonal relationship with you, communication is number one, and listening more than speaking is going to be how you win hearts and minds. So whenever there's a breakdown, my recommendation is, if it's with the team, you call a meeting. If you are not able to handle the meeting, you seek help from your colleagues or from consultants or someone to come in and to help you to understand how to listen to your team. Simon Sinek says, it is important that leaders are the last to speak. When the employees are speaking, it is important that the leader or manager or supervisor is making notes. They ask questions to gain clarity and on what is being said, so that the employees know that they are listening. When they restate for clarification, to ensure that they understand the point of view of the employee, when they are restating that from their notes, that the employee can say, yes, that is exactly what I meant, or no, in addition to that, I want you to note this and that and that. So active listening is going to be a huge part of that. And that requires many leaders to be vulnerable, because you're going to hear things about your leadership or the way that you did something that you might not necessarily like. But in order for you to restore the interpersonal relationship, in order for you to restore the collaborative form of communication, the respectful and trustworthy communication that you had before this breakdown, you must be vulnerable first to listen and then be the last to speak. Now, I had a issue a couple of years ago where my team and I were just not gelling, and I decided to write a letter, an open letter to the team. I did not allow for any form of feedback. I just called a meeting, and of course everybody attended because I was the HR leader, and I read my letter, and then I dismissed everybody. The meeting was over. And that made matters worse, because I called them in the meeting to listen to me, and I did not listen. What did I do? When I realized that things got worse and not better, my intentions were good, but my method my method of communication only involved speaking and not listening to get their perspective. And so what did I do? I asked for help. I asked my colleagues, I explained the situation, and we got together. And one of the things that I requested of them was to allow me an opportunity and time at the very beginning of the meeting to apologize for my role in the breakdown and my role in the further breakdown as a result of applying the wrong solution to the problem. That went down very well. We were able to reestablish ground rules for communication. I was able to listen to their point of view, and they already said they knew my point of view. And while I was not wrong in terms of the information in my letter, not giving them the opportunity to speak, to be heard, was the main issue why things got worse. So I was vulnerable. I apologized, and we had a wonderful meeting, and we reestablished the ground rules for the way that we were going to behave one with the other, how we're going to communicate. And it did not take long. I believe that in that meeting, everything was restored. The following morning, there was this sense of peace and joy and camaraderie that we had before. You could sense it, you could feel it. So leaders, it's very important that when you make a mistake also, that you are willing to apologize. So remember, to restore communication, you have to employ active listening. You have to be the last to speak. If necessary, you need to apologize. But what is most important is that both parties are able to listen and come back to the principles established by the organization in terms of how we should conduct ourselves and how we should behave one towards another. There are always tools, there's always a code of conduct. Instead of using your own beliefs and what you think, go back to that which applies to not just them, your employees, but it also applies to you. And when you use that as a foundation and you back that up with listening, being vulnerable, apologizing, and be willing to not just to listen, but to act on their advice or to act on their suggestions or to just discuss the issue to an end so that we know that it is finished and we start on a right footing following the meeting. That's what I suggest you do. It worked for me, and I had to say that after that, the relationship just continued to get better and better and better because I was willing to listen and to acknowledge that I was wrong. So I hope that this answers your question. What should leaders do when there is a breakdown in interpersonal relationships or the communication between them and their team or a particular team member? 1, look at your communication. Apply active listening. Apologize if you need to. And then be vulnerable to stand before your employees and to say, I need you and you need me. Let's work on this thing. Let's get back to where we were so that we can once more be collaborators, effective collaborators as we work towards the same goals. Thank you so much for listening. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and remember to subscribe and share. Until next time, have a wonderful time leading your team, actually restoring the communication and the collaboration between you and your team. Bye.